Hello everyone and welcome to the official patch notes for Wild Rift patch 6.0e, the final patch of the 6.0 cycle. I thought the D patch was going to be the last patch, but Riot has hit us with honestly one of the first ever E patches in a cycle that I've seen for a long time. So a lot of changes has happened over this patch. This patch is a bit of a smaller patch with just some champion changes, some buffs and some nerfs to some champions. But in general, this week is going to be very, very busy. Patch notes today, patch preview is soon for 6.1, and also the new patch, of course, coming out tomorrow with the patch notes being today. Now, you might notice that this video is a lot earlier than what the usual embargo time is. That's because I now have the same embargo time as the Chinese patch notes release time. So that means you don't have to look around, you don't have to try and translate any of the patch notes. These are official patch notes that get sent to me from Riot, so a huge thanks to them for pushing forward the time and allow me to release these notes early to explain to you all and give you all time to be able to test a few things before the new patch goes live. So first thing first, Tryndamere. Tryndamere is getting a bit of a buff to his first ability, the bonus attack damage gained with per 1% health loss, I should say, is going up by 0.1 at every single rank. Interestingly enough, some Tryndamere players are actually maxing this already first instead of the third ability. The third ability is like the standard way of playing Tryndamere because it lowers your cooldown, it gives you a bunch of mobility. But now with the extra bonus damage that you're getting with your first ability, you get basically double the amount, nearly double the amount, I should say, from level 1 all the way up to level 4. So you get a really, really big difference now in terms of the bonus attack damage. And of course, with Tryndamere, if he goes down to 1 HP, you can use his ultimate, he can keep doing a bunch of damage. So this could definitely be an ability that players might look for to try and max first out. And the second ability, the attack damage reduction on the second ability has gone from 35 up to 40%. So this doesn't affect the slow of the second ability, it's going to be the damage reduction. So pretty nice overall, just going to be giving Tryndamere a lot more power, I feel like, in terms of his 1v1 duels when playing in the Baron lane. I don't think this is going to help jungle Tryndamere as much. You know, maybe maxing the first ability can be something you can do when farming through the jungle. When you get into the team fights, you become a little bit more powerful. But both of these buffs are more to do with the Baron lane, the 1v1 duel scenarios. Nasus, a bit of a scary buff, I have to be honest with you. I mean, Nasus, the only problem right now with Nasus is just he takes a bit too long to get online earlier. You know, your first ability, you need to stack it up as much as possible, but with you being in a side lane and you stacking up, when it comes to these objectives, I mean, we all know Wild Rift is a very, very fast-paced game. So scaling champions like Nasus just take a little bit too long to come online. There are champions like Kayle and Kassadin which come online much earlier, and they don't really need stacks, they more need items. So just more gold they get, the stronger they become, where someone like Nasus needs stacks on his first ability. The cooldown is going down by 0.5 at every single rank. Honestly, this doesn't really mean nothing at all. 0.5 is 0.5, doesn't really mean too much. Mana consumption is quite nice for laning phase. Of course, you're just going to be spamming this ability a lot to be able to take a bunch of minions. So it going down by 5 every single time you use it is great because you're spamming this a lot. Base damage going up though is pretty damn scary. This is always the ability that you max first. So when you get it to level 4, you get 15 bonus base damage. Obviously that doesn't include items like Divine Sunderer that you're building on top, Sunderer Sky potentially as well. So your first ability is going to be doing a lot more damage now. This is the big buff to the first ability, because yes, stacking is still going to be important to do more damage, but your base damage being 15 more base damage at max rank is a huge, huge buff. And also the armor reduction going up by 5% at every single rank. So you've got more armor reduction now, which means you're going to be very, very strong against both tanks, bruisers, and also AD carries. Just remember that everyone has a base armor and a lot of base armor in the mid and late game, so it's going to be impactful anyway. But this buff, plus the base damage buff on the first ability, these two can make Nasus very, very scary. And I'm definitely going to be testing out to see what he's going to look like. Twitch, of course, has been underperforming forever. I think the problem that Wild Rift is kind of figuring out at the moment is these champions like Twitch and Neela, these AD carries that can be played in the jungle, if you buff them too much, they become broken in the jungle. But if you don't buff them, then they're not going to be strong in jungle, and also they're probably going to be the weakest dual lane carry in the game. So this is the problem, and I think that's why you'll see down here that there are no Neela nerfs at all, because the champion is so damn useless in dual lane, and it's more of a jungler champion at the moment because you can survive the early game and you can just farm up and get to a few items, and then you can scale and be very, very strong, which is what champions like Twitch and Neela need. Their laning phase is not that strong, but once they get a few items, they can be very, very powerful. But anyway, the third ability, after me yapping, the third ability of Twitch is going up the bonus base damage per stack of the poison of the third ability is going up by 5 at every single rank. So a little bit extra damage. I don't think it's going to do too much, to be honest with you. I think Twitch in general can be paired pretty well with champions like Yuumi and Lulu for the survivability. And of course, now you get bonus base damage per stack of the poison. Don't think this will bring him back into the meta at all. I just think it's a nice little buff that he really needed. Yone buff. I was not expecting this, to be fair. I still play Yone quite a bit in the mid lane. I do want to play him again in the jungle just to see what he's like at the moment. I think the problem is that his jungle clear speed got nerfed a long time ago. It might even be a year ago now. Which meant that his jungle clear speed is pretty slow now, but this might help a little bit. Attack speed growth going up by 0.4 at every rank. So at level 10, you're getting 4 extra AD, which means you're roughly at max level going to be getting... Oh, what are you getting at max level? I don't know what you're getting at max level. You're getting something at max level. An extra 11, 12 AD at max level. So it's a little bit of extra AD, which is obviously going to help out a little bit. And then this is a pretty big buff as well. Look at that cooldown in the late game. 3 seconds less cooldown in the late game for Soul Unbound. This already is one of the strongest abilities in the game, I have to say. Being able to jump over the wall, and then at any point you can just click on your third ability and teleport back to your clone or your shadow, whatever you want to call it. By far one of the most broken abilities in the game. That having 3 seconds less cooldown in the late game, that's gonna be very, very scary. Like I said, this is really what makes Yone the champion that he is and what makes him a great carry in the mid and late game. Yeah, we've increased Yone's mid and late game power. There's increased, and there is over buffing, and I think this might be a bit of an over buff because this is very, very scary. Of course, attack speed growth doesn't mean too much, but it's just nice in general, just for the ease of transition in terms of mid and late game. But yeah, this buff is pretty scary. I think Yone was already pretty decent. I think he'll just be even stronger now because of the catch potential that he can get with his third ability. Aatrox is a bit of a hit or miss champion, to be fair. I think there are some players that can play Aatrox very well. I think he's just very difficult to be able to utilize and difficult to master because it's all about his first ability, trying to hit champions in that sweet spot. And if you know how to maneuver around, use your third ability at the right time, use some of the spells like Flash and Ignite at the right time, you could do a lot of damage and you could be a great carry. But in general, he doesn't really have that high of a win rate, so it can be a little bit difficult. But yeah, the first ability is being reduced by 1 second every single rank. Again, little cooldowns like this don't really mean too much. 1 second is more meaningful than 0.5, don't get me wrong, which is going to be kind of nice for Aatrox, but in general won't mean too much. This is a big thing though, 5% extra damage at every single rank now on the bonus damage. This is not the base damage. So the bonus damage of the first ability, which scales with your attack damage, that's been increased by 5% at every single rank, which is quite nice. But then they're nerfing the movement speed of World End Up. This was honestly very, very powerful, to be fair. The movement speed that you get just allowed you to get into range so you can hit your sweet spots on your first ability. You can auto attack and do everything else in between. And you have so much healing as well with your ultimate. I think this is one of the strong points with Aatrox. The healing and the movement speed you get with your ultimate just makes it very, very difficult for players to try and kite and try and survive, basically. But in general, pretty nice buffs here for Aatrox. Should be pretty nice to play. I just don't know where to play him at the moment. It's like jungle, Baron lane. It's a bit difficult to decide where to play him because there's so many strong Baron lane champions at the moment, of course. Lux getting a bit of a nerf. I mean, this has been a long time coming, I feel like. Whether you play her in the mid lane, I mean, Lux is the biggest low elo stomper, I think, in the entire game. She is by far the best champion to play if you're looking to climb ranks in terms of how easy she is to play, how much she punishes mistakes from the enemy team, and how much burst damage that she does. If you play a support, mid lane, she's one of the best low elo champions. But obviously, the higher rank you get, the more people understand how to play against Lux and know her limits and everything in between as well, and know how to play around her cooldowns. But in general, it's nice that they're finally nerfing Lux. The base damage is going down from 25 to 18, but the scaling with champion level is going from 7 to 7.5. Overall, this is still a nerf, but you're going to be getting a little bit more scaling in the late game, which is probably going to work out evenly as you get into like probably level 10 I would say it will work out evenly in terms of how much extra numbers you get, because what happens is the champion level times 7.5 plus the 18. So the plus 25 and the plus 18 gets done at the end. So it's basically your champion level. The more champion level you get, the more you get of this. So for example, it goes from 70 to 75 at level 10. So you're still going to be below the base damage at level 10. But as I said, once you reach like level 15, it will be roughly the same amount of damage, which is quite nice. First ability base damage is going down, only going down by 10. The big surprising thing with the first ability is they haven't nerfed the minion damage of the first ability. I think it is absolutely crazy that you can use your first ability as Lux, then use your third ability straight afterwards, and it will insta-clear every single wave that you come across. First ability into third ability, boom, the whole wave's gone. It gives you so much more time as Lux to try and roam, to try and help your jungler, or to try and basically do anything else on the map. And that's why she's one of the easiest and one of the strongest mid lane champions at the moment, because you just sit in lane, use your first ability, use your third ability. Of course, your first ability doesn't stop after 2 minions. It goes through all the minions and champions now. And yeah, it does an absolute shit ton of damage. I don't think this 10 base damage is going to be enough to nerf that powerhouse of Lux, but it's nice that they've nerfed the damage anyway. And also the shield has gone down. Shield's gone down by 5 at base damage. I was reading this number as well. The shield's going down by 5 in terms of base, but the ability power is going up in percentage. Again, more of a early game nerf to Lux, but you know, it comes equal later on. Again, the same here. I didn't even know these numbers were 48, 88, 128, 106. What are these numbers, by the way? Anyway, that's also being nerfed. I mean, wow. From 168 down to 130, and it's only getting a 4% buff in ability power. So this is definitely going to hurt like support Lux, because obviously support Lux, you're not getting as much ability power if you're playing more supportive Lux. But most people in support will build like Ludens and Death Cap and items like this as well anyway. So you're kind of forced now to build AP with Lux instead of going a more supportive style with like Harmonic Echo, etc. Funny this, I did a video yesterday which said Gnar needs to be nerfed. Guess what? Gnar's getting nerfed. What a surprise. I mean, this champion is just absolutely disgusting. Like the range form that you have, the extra power that you have, the team fight potential, everything about this champion is just absolutely busted right now. And no surprise that he's getting nerfed. So down Del on Boomerang is going down by 5% every rank. The base damage going down by 10 at every single rank. Look at that. 5 base damage at level 1. That is hilarious. 5 base damage on Boomerang at level 1. Oh my god. It goes up to 55, 105, and 155. That's just hilarious to me that number is 5. Honestly, do you even start with your first ability anymore? Is the 5 damage even worth it? I don't know. I mean, you're going to be doing more damage when it comes back as well, of course, if you hit the coming back as well. But yeah, it's just funny that it's just a number 5 there. This is the big part. I mean, this is something that should have been nerfed and should have been hotfixed. The bonus damage of your passive of your hyper. So when you auto attack 3 times, you gain a percentage of the target's maximum health damage. And this number was absolutely absurd. 14%, 12%, 10%, 8%. Like these numbers were absolutely crazy. They are keeping it at 14% in the late game, which I'm very surprised about, because obviously at that point, when you're in range form, you can kite, you have the bonus attack speed now on your second ability, which has been added into the game. So you get in this bonus attack speed. If you can proc hyper, you do a crazy amount of damage to tanks and bruisers. Really, really crazy amount of damage. But they are nerfing it a little bit in the early game. So your early game power is not going to be as strong, which is obviously one of Gnar's strong points, one of the strongest laners in the game right now. But in general, definitely heading in the right direction with Gnar nerfs. I quite like the way they're heading with this, and I think it's pretty decent. Zed, in my opinion, is, I don't know, maybe this is a hot take. I think Zed is overrated. I don't think he's that strong as a jungler. I think if he can snowball and if he gets out of control, then yes, he's absolutely crazy. But I think, again, it's a champion that can just be countered by stasis instantly. And there are so many things that can just stop Zed completely. There are so many supports that can stop Zed, whether you play tank, whether you play enchanters. There are just so many things that can stop Zed. I mean, the extra energy now that you get when you use the ability, or I should say the energy reduction now on using the abilities, was quite a strong buff because it meant that he can use his combos more often. He doesn't have to wait for his energy to replenish before using another combo. But in general, I think that the champion was a bit overrated. I mean, jungle was definitely the way to go with Zed instead of mid lane. Yeah, of course, they're nerfing the jungle monster damage on the first ability, which is no surprise. And then the third ability, the base damage going down by 5% every rank, 5% bonus attack damage is also going down, and subsequent damage from multiple slashes is going down by 10%. So if you use your second ability, you walk up and you get 2 slashes with both your clone and also your third ability or even your ultimate, that extra bonus damage that you're getting, the subsequent damage, is going down by 50%. So in general, some pretty big nerfs to Zed, to be fair. I mean, this is going to hurt him a bit. This is going to hurt him a lot, especially the subsequent damage. This is definitely going to hurt him a lot because he wants to use like his ulti, his second ability. He wants to get as much single target damage as possible after he uses his ultimate. That's why you use your ulti, you use your second ability, and then use your third ability. So then you have 3 subsequent damage all around the same target, which did a lot of damage before, but it's not going to do as much now. I wonder if that makes any difference. Teemo, Royal, I know is going to be very upset about this because Royal is the biggest Teemo fan I think I've ever seen on the planet, to be fair. And this is probably one of the reasons why Teemo gets buffed is because of Royal. But anyway, Toxic Shot. I mean, Teemo in general is a pretty annoying champion to deal with. I think that there is potential for Teemo to be useful. The problem is when it comes to team fights, the only thing that Teemo has is a blind and shrooms. Like, you have to have so much setup potential in terms of your shrooms around objectives. If you don't get to the objectives early enough and you set up these shrooms and you have 0 shrooms around the objective, yeah, good luck, have fun. You'll pretty much be useless. But anyway, the passive, the bonus damage dealt on your basic attacks, which is your poison damage. This is being nerfed by your times amount. So again, the times of your champion level. So this is more to do with the scaling. The scaling has been lowered for Teemo. Doesn't really affect too much in terms of the early game, but the scaling is definitely going to be lowered. And in the first ability, the damage is going down by 10 at every single rank with 5% ability power. A little bit of a damage nerf on first ability and the passive. I think Teemo will already be in a fine spot, and I think he always was in a fine spot, but yeah, a little bit enough to stop the overall power. And as you can see, skins coming out on the new patch as well. Gwen skin, Zoe skin. This skin looks amazing, by the way. Kathy Q is Zoe, and also Yumi as well, which no one basically plays anymore because the champion sucks. Anyway, that is it. Patch 6.0 is complete. The next video that you'll see me doing a patch rundown or a patch preview is going to be 6.1, which there's already teasers out there on Wild Rift socials. I'll be releasing some content soon as well, so exciting stuff. Always the best time of year to be a Wild Rift fan when all of these big patches come along with new items, new champions, and everything in between as well. But hopefully you enjoyed this patch rundown. Let me know what you think of the final patch of 6.0. And as always, if you enjoyed the content, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.